Hello and welcome back to another edition of TTML EML League 2 here at the Portuguese Grand Prix for round number 9 of 10, second last round. My name is Graham and joining me this week it is Ivan. How you getting on, Ivan?
Hello to you, Graham, and to everyone on the stream. Yeah, today we are racing for round 9, I believe, around Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimao, Portugal. Hopefully we'll have a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of an interesting circuit, this one, and hopefully we'll get some good action to go along with it. Bit of housekeeping. We're going to be delaying for a few minutes. The plans to get going at 7:05. So as we kind of sit and wait for for things to get going, would you like to take us through the lineup for this week, and then after that I can take you through the standings?
No problem. So today we have Yogi F1 and TTG Laskach or TTGaming Esports. Then for OVR we have OVR Submaking and OVR Glasgow. For QVR we have Space Spaghetti Chips and Alt Maverick. For BNLE we have Joey and Noodles. And for NSR we have Piraya and Max Piero. For ESW we have Old School and JR. For Draw we have Goodrick and Poison F13. For NLR we have IRS Kasabi and ML. For CPI Gaming Esports we have CPI Marcel and CPI Piro. Then for Team Aurora Racing we have EVG Tam and EVG Taigo.
So that's the lineup. You'll notice that EVG are in the mix here now, and just go over the standings. And the championship was wrapped up in Imola last time out by Never Last Racing. They are on 285 points, 101 clear of TTG Racing in second place, and they are ahead of Esports Wales Tan, who are on 172 points. So a battle there for third place. There is a bit of a bigger battle for fourth place at the moment. QVR in fourth, 149 points. OWR on 148. And the TRT Academy was placed here on 142 points in the standings. Just read them as they were last time round, so EVG won't be represented here. In seventh place, CPI Academy, 126 points ahead of Norway Scuderia on 104 points, and then towards the bottom, BNL Racing on 96 points, and then DRA on 46 points. So the championship is wrapped up for NLR, but there's still a lot to be decided, kind of up and down the field, particularly for that fourth place led by QVR at the moment. So it should be interesting to see how things fare, and whether NLR will let off a little bit now that they've got the trophy wrapped up, or if they'll continue to try and push for the best results possible to close out the season, as they've been the best team of the championship for the majority of the season. They're deserving champions. They have been, I'd say, they've been the shining example in this division of teamwork, consistency, pace. They've had the complete package here, really. So they'll be one to watch next season. But in the meantime, got short qualifying around Portimao. You can see some mixed conditions around here on occasion. Not the easiest place to drive in the wet or the dry, but we'll kind of get into that as qualifying unfolds. Obviously a lot to decide still, even with 2 rounds to go.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see the conditions. Yeah, as you said, pretty hard to drive here at the best of times, especially if it rains. The difficulty goes up even higher. Usually, I don't think it rains in this region, but I'm not the meteorologist, so I wouldn't be sure. And for F1 2021, we learned to expect unexpected, as we have rain.
Oh, so we do. That looks like intermediate conditions, certainly, to to start. We'll see if it dries up, but certainly an interesting wrinkle thrown in here for short qualifying. Very interesting. Intermediate conditions. We'll see how the drivers handle that. It's the first person that goes out will kind of explore and go on a lap and talk about the challenges of this circuit, because it's, again, in the wet or the dry, it's not the most straightforward circuit, is it? It's a short lap, but it's difficulty can be deceiving.
Well, it certainly can. As
Aha.
did the car go out? Yeah, that's Piraya.
Yes, Pariah is our not only our lobby host, but he's our first driver out on track. So always in these conditions, you're just kind of just getting a real, especially on this outlap, of course, you're just getting a feel for where things are at, and you'll see a lot of different approaches and philosophy when it comes to wet weather driving. You're going to see that here to start. Bear with me as I turn up my audio a little bit. It's a little quiet. You're going to see a different approach for drivers, because it's just one of those things. Everyone has a kind of something a little bit different in the wet to bring. I know for me personally, I always liked to fill up for maybe 5-6 laps of fuel, and because the inters will kind of go with you. They're not as they don't degrade obviously as a set of the softest compound tire, whatever the track may be, and so you just want to for me, I always found just building up that confidence in the wet was always key, and so in my mind, the best way to do that was to fill yourself up with fuel, and then you're continuing to improve as hopefully the track improves as well. You just get more of a comfortable feeling for the conditions.
Well, yeah, it all depends on confidence and your skill in wet weather. Let's just say that, because someone can do only one lap in wet, and that can be like mega lap. Not Ayrton Senna quality, but very good lap for F1 2021 standards. And someone just really needs to do some laps in to get the confidence and feeling for a track. As Piraya starts his first flying lap.
Yeah, turn one was a tough one, and already he's gone over the limits of the track limit there. So it's a difficult track, this, because especially that turn one reminds very reminiscent of Hockenheim. And we'll go on board with Atlas Scopo, who's going to start lap. Hopefully we'll get a representative lap here, and we'll take it through it. But turn one, obviously you're carrying a lot of speed into it. Very easy to get too much of the curb on the inside, and then if you take too much then on the outside, want to avoid that curb on the inside, you can obviously invalidate, as we saw with Pariah. But nice and easy from Atlas Scopo, nice and gentle. You can see he's very much trying to feel the conditions. I always think it's better to get a slow lap in, just better just to serve as any lap, just anything to get a delta going, to get to get a feel for it. Exactly. So
that lap in the min, or he lost quite a lot of time. But now coming to turn 8, the most notorious one in the F1 2021 League Race community, I think. Many will say, so easy to spin there and so easy to lose your rear. Now coming to turns 9, 10, and 11. Nice and easy. Also, again, one tricky corner. Can easily spin you off. Purple sector 2 on my screen. Oh,
just straight.
Just lost it on traction.
It was such a conservative lap, you could tell, and as Davy's going to get us going here with 26.2, we'll see how that stands up. You could just tell that he was just, especially coming out of turn 8, like you said, obviously one of the most difficult, a very misleading corner, I feel like, because you feel like you're a lot safer in that corner than you actually are, but you can see how conservative he was on the throttle, just wanted to take it nice and easy, and ironically ended up invalidating at the one of the easier parts of the track at the end. Pyro's gone quick, it was a 24.3, so immediately that 26 is absolutely blitzed.
Well, hopefully the gaps will be a little bit closer. I think they will, because with all the respect to our drivers, there's no way that someone is that quick than another in this kind of, even in these kind of conditions. Like Ayrton Senna to do so, as ML goes in P2 and Kasabi goes into P3 with 126.011 for ML and 126.251 for Kasabi.
Yogi just did 26.3 as well. So a lot of people falling into this 26 range. So we'll see if anyone can get themselves into the 25s, let alone the 24s at the moment. But again, it's all just a feeling exercise. You're just kind of seeing Eswar from Noodles there. It's 25.6. It's a bit closer to the fray. You see Laska then coming out of the last corner again. You want to be very careful how you. He did 25.5 to go up to P2. You want to be very careful how you measure the throttle coming out of that last corner with the turn-in, because you could easily get too greedy, and the back end would love to step out on you here in these conditions. So you really have to be very careful how you approach that particular corner in the wet, because it's not one you'd really think about too much in the dry.
Yeah, and also it's kind of tricky as the track literally pulls down in the apex of that corner, starting with the apex. So it is really tricky no matter the conditions. So yeah, our drivers should really watch out for quite a lot of points on this track.
Seems like the rain's lightening up a little bit here, and there's a bit of blue skies kind of shining through. So I wonder if we're going to see intermediate running for too much longer here, as Yogi goes into P5. A couple of times are getting quicker now. We've seen a couple more drivers getting into 25, a couple of drivers finding their feet. But I definitely think the track is definitely getting better, because the rain is effectively stopped. So I think we will see a switch to dries in the not too distant future here before the session ends. But to what extent then is how much it dries? Will it be, we see the normal times we'd be expecting to see in the dry, or how much the drivers might have to take it easy? It could be an interesting dynamic on a dry tires on a damp track where you can't quite go full beans. You still have to measure it as you would in the wet.
Well, changeable conditions. Jensen Button really, I think, was one of the best drivers in real life F1 in these kind of conditions. Just the point you don't know what condition and what tires are appropriate for the track. He could somehow pull out a miracle, same as Michael Schumacher and pretty much I think every world champion in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, the greats are always measured how they fare in wet and changeable conditions. And I'd say we're going to have some changeable conditions here pretty soon. 10 minutes to go. The rain has stopped, so I would imagine that we'll see some drivers begin to think about some drives not too far from now. In the meantime, though, it's still Pyro on top of things with 20. Still the only man in the 24s, so that lap time has really held up so far. We'll see what kind of pace he's got in the dry conditions when, if we get there. I assume we'll get there, but we might not. Who knows? It could be a very interesting situation. I've seen it be raining in this game, and dry tires are still quicker. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was not raining and we didn't shift off of inters. It just could go either way, to be fair.
Yeah, as you say, from this game we can expect unexpected. Well, to be fair, we could do the same works for the last year's game, because I remember doing a pile-up or open lobby with friends for fun, and it was raining in Abu Dhabi with dynamic weather.
I've been there. I had a league race with a wet qualifying in Abu Dhabi. It was safe to say it was a surprise to say the least. A couple of drivers sticking on the soft tyres in the pits here. They haven't gone out to track as of yet, but maybe the clearest indication that. Well, I mean, you say that, and at the same time, I mean, Pyro is coming out here on another set of inters, so DRS is now enabled. So, I mean, well, that'll be the trigger for everyone else to, I'd say, come into the pits and replace those tires. Because yeah, once the general rule of thumb here is once the DRS has been enabled, generally speaking, that's when it's time to make that change.
Well, one notice for Esports Plus, we have Camerals instead of one of their drivers alongside JR. Camerals was obviously put as reserve in the lineups we got before the race. So
and he's gonna be the first one, Camerals, on the dry tire. So we'll go on board with him. See as he tiptoes his way around. We'll see how things are looking. It'll still look quite wet out there, even though the dry will be quicker. So obviously won't be able to go full throttle immediately, but uh, interested to see what the difference in time is here to the Inters off the bat. I don't think we'll see anyone try anything with a medium here. I think it'll just be too slow, and the race strategy I feel like is usually the same as well. It's too slow to use the medium in the first stint, I always found. Some tracks are weird like that. Sometimes, the alternate strategy works, and sometimes it just does not.
Well, definitely as maybe medium stuff can work around here, but if you have like that much of some of extra pace, but usually the most common way is go soft medium around here, because as in our previous round in Imola, the track is not demanding for tire wear in terms of tires, but it's demanding for tire temperature. So if you can keep your temperatures and tires in good operating window, you won't have problems at all as Cameron starts his lap.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you could do soft medium here, is more of an indication that tire temps are more so the problem here, as more so on the softs and the mediums. And I have to say, even since his outlap, this track almost looks bone dry, to be fair. So I can't imagine he'd be too far off a flat out. But obviously, this first lap, he's still kind of feeling for the conditions, but looking very smooth so far from cam rules, and he's 1.6. Oh, the car's got on his way. Who was that? Who was that car? It was Max Fierro, who just didn't see him coming, or I'm not sure what the story was there, but certainly has compromised his lap. So this might not be he'd be the first person to set a time on the softs, but I wonder how much time we'd have lost from that as a result. But it's not sure if Max saw him coming or what the story was there, but that wasn't very friendly.
I will find out how much time he lost compared to that in a couple of minutes time, as he's 3.8 seconds up in the middle sector. Obviously, the grip levels already coming into play, coming into turn 15. And Kasabi says so. Quickest lap at 1:19.537. What can Carmelos do? You can go P2 over a second slower than Kasabi, 1.4 seconds lower, around that.
He certainly lost a lot of time in that corner, but I'm not sure if he lost that much now. He got Emil come across the line. Oh, he's lost the back end. Will he keep it? He has. He's into the pit lane. Luckily for him, the rear went in first.
You need to be more careful around here, because if he spins the car too much, he can easily, maybe accidentally, surely, take someone out. Because Jared's coming here around at pretty much quick speed, coming out the last corner, as Spaghetti Chips sets the fast lap of 1:18.768, so track is definitely evolving. So nothing is over here yet. Basically, whoever wants to get pole will make sure that he crosses the finish line last in queue at the end.
I think Kasabi's gone for back-to-back runs, has he? He's using all of his ERS, but he's peeling into the pits. Cadrulos has gone for back to left, has he? No, he's going to complete it. Oh, very late call to. Looked like he was going to, but I think that was the right decision, because there's 4 minutes left, and it would have been tight for time to go back around as Max Fierro goes quickest 18.3. So, like you said, the track is evolving, getting quicker all the time, and that's quickly undone by Noodles then 17.2. You can see the difference there. That's a 1.1 second difference. So track is basically, I would say, 100% now, essentially, to what would be in dry running conditions.
Line. Oh, Neo get to the pits. As Pero is on his outlap, I think he's the only car on track at the moment, apart from Marcel.
Tom's on a lap here, Tam rather. DVG Tam is on a lap. This will be cutting it close, though. I want to see if they complete the lap, or because they might not get another chance to go out again. And sure enough, pitting. We got a BNL RE front row as Joey goes P2 with an 18 flat, but I reckon we're going to see a lot of chop and change here in this final 3 minutes, just because a lot of people haven't really set. Some people haven't even set A, dry laps, and B, representative dry laps now in these conditions with the track now basically fully dry. So this order is going to look a lot different at the end of the session than it will right now.
I'm riding on board with Pedro, who is about to start his dry lap. Obviously, the man who blew off the field in those wet part of qualifying. Let's see what he can do in dry. Being aggressive, coming down to turn 3. Turn 3 Lagos. Then turn 4, easy to lose your rear there and to invalidate on the exit, as it's pretty much flying corner, and the balance shifts, I think, towards the back end. Now coming to turns 6 and 8. Turn 7, going downhill, then going uphill again. Turn 8, also balance shifting corner. If you touch that inset curve, you can spin neatly. Coming to turns 9, 10, and 11. Now turn 12. Turn 13. 4th gear on the exit. 5th. 3rd for the turn 14. Goes really wide on the exit to carry more speed out of it. Turn 15, going all the way to right in the line, and 1:15.721.
It's a good time. We'll see if anyone can top that. Obviously now we're just taking under. I would love to see the time that is left, if possible. Please, a minute. So
minute.
a lot of these people will be on their final flying runs. Those crossing line, obviously some starting like Laska, just starting their flying laps. So let's see if we can find someone who's just coming up to the end of their lap, if possible.
Cameras is on the lap, as far as I know, and that's the starting one. Cameras is up on his time.
Yeah, I think Cameras is the first one that's actually still on the flying lap here, so go on board with him as he negotiates second to last corner. Oh, took a bit of curve there on the edge as CPI Marcel is in second and Mel then is in third. So lots of chop and change already. As Cameras comes across the line, it's a 17.3, puts him in P5 for the time being. Everyone coming across the line now. This will be their final flying lap, so you can find anyone. I think Atlas Scopo, I think, is on a flying lap. Check flag is now out, so.
Also, Kasabi is on flying lap as well, coming into last sector, but let's see what can Atlas Scopo do. P10, 119 flat, getting him more quickly to P11. I think this is actually his second lap time in, because he was really struggling in the wet, as both CPI guys decide to retire, and as always they think they've done enough, and even if they didn't, they couldn't do much, as Lashka goes into P2 with 116.027, so splits the two CPI drivers, and Kasabi goes into P4, 116.433, so I don't think NLR is backing off, even if they won the trophy.
Still going for it. Mel's on a flying lap here as well. And it's going to abandon this one. Still a couple of drivers finishing the laps, but I think it's SW Juniors aborted his for an invalidation. DRI Davey going into 5th place. They're splitting the two, as Skate Chipton also probably into the top 10. See what BNLRE Noodles can do. He goes back up to 3rd, so he fell all the way down to P15, 16 there. And Camrose is not on a flying lap. So that's it then, I think. Unless SW Junior. No, he's invalidated his lap. He's into the pit. So that's it then. So the two BNLRE cars were 1 and 2. And they finished 3 and 11, which isn't too bad, I think, considering. But there you go. That is qualifying. Not too bad in the end. Well,
the real show will start soon. I have a feeling.
So it is Pyro ahead of Laska then in second place by a comfortable 3/10 in the end. The only person creeping into the 15s. Noodles then, good result for him in qualifying into third place. CPI Marcel, good qualifier for CPI. He's in fourth. Kasabi then in fifth. Davey then sixth. Mel in seventh. ESW Junior in eighth. KA Chips ninth. And Yogi rounds at the top 10 for TTG. So 2 TTG cars in the top 10. You got Joey then, Maverick, Pariah, Cam Rules, Max Fierro, Atlascopo, and Tam round out the rest of the grid. Top, where are we? Top. You take out the 310 advantage that Pyro has at the top, and it's about 7/10 difference from second down to about 10th or 11th or so. So it feels it is quite close. Maybe not just at the front, but that could have just been an example of a really strong qualifying lap.
Well, qualify doesn't mean much. We saw in Imola on track on which is even harder to overtake than on this one. I remember who was that, but I remember one driver. I forgot everything, but one driver dominated the qualifying, but in the race, the completely different driver from different team won the race. So there are no points for qualifying. Points are only given for the race.
Yeah, we saw a lot of chop and change in the finishing grid in Imola. A bit of a wild race that one, but it'll be easy to overtake here. ERS management is going to be key here as well, and we'll see how that is negotiated. I don't believe we got anyone inside the top 10 on mediums. How many people will choose to go outside top 10 on mediums? Let's have a gander. Everyone except Pariah has gone for the mediums outside the top 10. Very interesting. It's always interesting to see those go for the alternate strategy like that, especially at a track where if a safety car comes out in the first, around lap 8 or so, then it's an easy stop onto mediums for essentially everyone else, and those on mediums are kind of hosed when it comes to that. Again, Silverstone offers a bit of a lesser extreme of that, because obviously the mediums could go from lap 5 or so on at Silverstone to the end. But interesting decision for majority of the top 10 to go for mediums, except for Pariah there in 13th.
Well, Pariah sticking to the usual strategy despite being down in P13. I had the opportunity to commentate few races of him in which he competed, and on his day he has pace, and if he feels comfortable with the car and with the strategy, you might watch out for him, and maybe he managed to bring good result for NSR. Him and Max Fierro having really poor qualifying from starting from P13 and 15. So we'll see how the race goes for them. As you said, ERS and DRS will be also key for this track. This track is really short in terms of some F1 tracks, only 4.6 kilometers long, and also really technical, really fast, so it's really hard to save ERS. Maybe the best opportunity is from turn 6 to turn 11, because that section is really slow. And DRS is really powerful around this track, so you want to be in DRS range, because if you lose it, you can say goodbye to your race, or maybe to even good result.
And that's why I always think that's why I think here the delta with the tires that's always why part of the reason I felt that mediums, in a safety carless race, don't quite work as well as the soft medium, just because you can lose so much of that ground. So for Pariah, he'll be hoping to make some places up early here, and for anyone on mediums, they'll hope not to lose too much touch with the soft compound runners. We'll see though. 33 laps to determine what's going to happen here. Safety cars could easily come into play, as could weather. You never quite know. It's lights out and away we go. That's a good start for Alaska. He's going to pull alongside Pyro immediately. Heading into turn 1, he's going to have the inside line. He should be able to sweep through. Oh, bit of contact between the two. Pyro making contact with the rear, but that was Alaska's corner.
ML around.
ML is around, but we've got the leaders still squabbling side by side. Pyro trying to duck back in and using the ERS, and Alaska goes defensive. Will he go over defensive more? No, he's going to keep to the racing line here, and Pyro goes for the move down the inside. A little bit more contact, but Alaska is clean then away on the exit, and into the lead. You got a little scrap between Noodles and Kasabi there for P3. I think Noodles got a little bit out. I think Kasabi got a little bit out of shape coming out of turn number 5. But apart from ML, they've all seemed to got through relatively cleanly. With Pariah moving up through the field already. He's up into P10.
Pariah certainly using those soft tires as an advantage. Getting up to Yogi already. And Sam also made a really good start. From P17 to P12, 5 places gained in for 1 lap. In 1 lap and a half.
Good start for him. Good start for ESW Junior as well. Up 2 places from 8th into 6th. Always handy, and the leaders are going out once again, side by side. Laska and Pyro, and using a bit more ERS at this phase of the race as Pyro, but he's got that move done. And they're already 1.2 seconds clear of Kasabi, so these two seem to have a clear pace advantage at this phase of the race. See if they can keep out of that DRS range. But at the moment, Pyro retakes the lead then after a nice move heading down into turn 1. Easy to have an accident there, and they almost did on that first lap.
Well, it's tricky around this track as we have yellow flag coming out of turn 4. Max Vieira is around.
He was on mediums, might be having a bit of difficulty warming them up. They're not the nicest tire to start proceedings here, so maybe struggling, maybe have contact with the car, who knows, didn't quite see. But what I am seeing at the moment at the front actually is Marcel. Oh, look, Marcel looking for a move on JR there. Seems to be has a bit more pace than the ESW in front. Seems a little bit pent up. Has to be careful not to lose DRS to Davey there. If you, again, like you say, if you do lose DRS, and it can be difficult to get back in. It was obviously quite potent at this particular track, and it'll be enabled on this lap as Pyro begins lap number 3, 19.1. You can see the slipstream that Laska is having. He's catching Pyro in that slipstream, even without using ERS and DRS. So I could imagine they both have similar amount of ERS. So I can imagine we'll see a bit of back and forth between the two, but I believe this will be the first time. No, the activation point is prior, so the one activation, or sorry, the one detection point, or oh, there it is. Sorry, it wasn't appearing at first, but sorry, no, he did have DRS there. Was able to make a move.
On Yogi, 4P9, a bit of contact, but everyone is sure safe. And Pariah takes the P9.
Start from P13, he's moving up quite nicely, is Pariah, so making the most of those hards, and you can see the gap kind of emerging there. Now Tam is already on the back of Yogi on this battle because these two are squabbling, but you can see Joey there on mediums, 1.5 seconds behind. That's going to be difficult to make up, and this is the thing. A bit of contact from Tam on the back of Yogi there. Has to be careful not to damage his front wing if he hasn't already, but here's the thing, this little squabbles allow Joey to catch up, but can he get back within that DRS range? Because again, dangerous position for those guys in the mediums because they are just right there, thereabouts on the cusp of things being left behind on a DRS train. We'll go back to the front where Pyro is holding on to the lead for the moment, and Laska not quite close enough to make a move quite yet. I think Emel's off again. So first time at DRS, Marcel has a little look, but nothing doing on Jed Allen heading into turn number 1.
I'm in the pits. Did he break up damage of that one with Yogi? Because this seems a very early pit stop. Indeed, he has.
Wing change, you're right. So maybe that little bit of contact that we did see was enough to damage the wing, and this is an awful track to damage your wing. You'll just struggle so much. Like this, you need to have downforce here. Otherwise, without any part of your wing, you're kind of hosed. So.
And Marcel is again really close on the back of Esports Junior, but can't find a way to get past him. Bit of look up there from Junior JR in the turn 11 and now again into turn 13. So I think he's really feeling the pressure of Marcel.
Yes, I don't know if it's Junior or JR, but a much cleaner run for Marcel out of that last corner, and see if yes, you see he still does have DRS, but yes, and with that DRS, it's tough for Marcel to make a move, but it's just on the cusp, and even in this next detection point, he may be out of that range. It's going to be very, very tight. I feel like it's its only saving grace at the moment is that he has that DRS on Davey in front, and indeed he does. He'll survive for another lap, but you feel like this move is coming at some point in the not too distant future here.
Yeah, exactly. As the field is quite sprinting away, we have a couple of trains of cars spread across the track, led by Pira and Lashka. Then Kasabi leads the group of Noodles, Davey, Junior, and Marcel. So that's about it. So we have 4 cars in the battle for last podium place. As then there's another group of cars led by Spaghetti Chips, and Miraya and Yoki are in it as well. And again, there's a huge gap to Joey.
It's that gap I mentioned earlier. Like you can just see that there's 2 fields created here between those on the softs and those on the mediums. Will Noodles go for a move on? Kasabi here thinks about it. There's saving some ERS here, which is nice. Obviously, a gaggle of cars behind this little scrap for third, like you mentioned. But that's the thing. Like without a safety car and the such, they're just losing a lot of time because the guys in front of the mediums are just DRSing each other along. It's tough to hang on the back of that at this phase of the race because the delta is just too much in comparison. So that's the danger of starting on the mediums. You might be left behind, and you may have that advantage at the second stint, but depending how much you lose in this first stint, you could be out of position by the time it even matters when you're on that tyre.
Marcel is really close to Junior. Back on my screen. That's I think everything's fine.
Very tight up here. It's between 3rd and 7th. You see Marcel trying to get on the throttle as early as he can, using a bit of ERS on the exit of that last corner, and he's looking a little bit closer this time to Junior. I wonder if he'll commit to using that ERS. But again, you can see the problem that just with that DRS, it's just impossible to close up enough. And the first corner is such that you can't really send a dive bomb in there like you would maybe at some other tracks. The way it opens, you take so much speed into it, so you really have to be alongside / already ahead to really make that move. We have our first penalty of the day going to Maverick on the mediums in 12th, and that's tough because you're losing a lot of time in this segment of the race as it is on tyre performance. Tough to lose even more with a penalty coming into the mix as well. So lap number 7. Things are moving pretty quickly here. No, everyone's still in the race.
Yep. I'm a bit surprised because Portuguese is one of the tracks on which you can basically spin and retire if you miss that turn 1 slightly. It doesn't forgive mistakes, and also, for the pace of the race, it's really short track, so, and leaders set the pace quite early, so I'm not surprised regarding that.
Obviously, it's very testing on your traction as well. To be on top of things, and everyone mostly has been so far. Marcel finally got by ESW Junior there, so that's him up to the 6th place. He got it done just coming out of turn 8. He's got better traction, so that is him up into P6. You can see if he can have a go at Davey again. Is in this DRS train, so we'll see if he can live with it and see if he can do anything about it. Maverick just got by Joey for P11, so let's see what kind of pace Maverick has, if he can make any inroads on the likes of this trio in front of this battling trio. Spaghetti Chips goes very deep into turn number 5. He's just trying to hold off Pariah and Yogi, and these guys have to be careful with their squabbling, because the more they squabble, the more they allow the medium runners to come to them, and because they don't have the gap that the others at the front do, like there's a 3-second gap between Laska and Kasavi and 4.5 seconds between Spaghetti Chips and ESW Junior there. These guys will play into these the medium runners, Spaghetti Chips, Pariah and Yogi. If they don't, at this rate, they're going to be in their race at the second phase when they're on the soft. So they need to get a move on. And already you can see Maverick is digging into the time.
Yeah, he gained a couple tenths going through this middle sector already, so really catching up. But the great Aspiraya, I think, will make move on spaghetti chips now. You are trying to do it for past couple levels, but you're just way too far, and now he gets it done. He assists as Yogi also uses the opportunity, and David picks up a penalty meanwhile.
Yeah, critical for those two to get through. It looked like Spaghetti Chips was really losing a lot of time. Seems to be really struggling with the tyres. We'll see how quickly these two get away if they can in front, and conversely see if Spaghetti Chips will fall into the clutches of his teammate. Might be in his best interest to try and negotiate a safe swap if possible. That's going to be difficult with Joey still right behind as well. So just say Maverick probably on the better strategy now at this part of the race given their track position and the margin. So we'll see what happens there down the road.
As Marcel is now closing on Davey. So we potentially see a move for P5.
Definitely much closer than he was prior. Again, see if it's just tough, without that obviously with the DRS in front though. He might run into a bit of luck here because you see that red light is flashing. He's under 10% of deployment remaining, but it's not, with the DRS it's not enough to it's not enough for Marcel to make an overtake. So I think Marcel seems to be a little bit out of place here. He definitely seems to have a little bit more pace than some of these guys, and I wonder, we're on lap 10 and this Laska's got the same situation, the same questions to ask, and the likes of Yogi as well. At what point do you decide to trigger an undercut to try and make an undercut and see if you can make up the time? Because if you pit, really, you should emerge into some relatively clean air. Not sure what the story is down between Atlas Scopo and Cam Rules, possibly Max Fierro. You might pop into that maybe range, but we're not too far away from some of these drivers. Potentially, yeah. There's a lot to gain. There's a lot to be gained here for some of these guys to try and undercut.
Yeah, I won't be even surprised that they come out around, as I said, P13, maybe in the P12, something around that, because, also undercut is also quite powerful. This track, the leader set the pace early, and we'll see what happens.
Speaking of the leaders, we're going to have a change of position here. Finally, Laska's been biding his time, and he finally gets by Pryor then into P1. He seems to be very patient in that one. Didn't really use a lot of his ERS now. They both do not have a lot of ERS, but Laska then takes the lead, and again, you have to wonder I wonder how they play this at the front. Which will one try and prevent the undercut? Will one trigger it? It's interesting, that cat and mouse kind of dynamic at the front and the mind games. Like, do I pit first so he doesn't get that undercut on me? It's
yellow flag. I think someone's drowned.
Oh, that's Yogi.
Yeah, Yogi.
No front wing. So I'm not sure if he was right behind Pariah and struggling to keep the car straight. The tyre temperatures are gone. Oh, and the tyre is gone now off the wheel now.
I'm surprised that they started a safety car.
Yeah, and that is awful news for those on mediums. This is perfect timing for everyone on softs. This is absolutely perfect. This is the worst time for medium runners in a safety car, because now they're without another safety car, they're hosed. The guys in softs, they can make their one and only stop onto mediums and they're good to go, but those on mediums, you want to be waiting to like lap 20 or so, and into the pits they all come. Gee, Mac, that was very, very close. You see the difference of the line. That was a little dicey, to say the least. Of course, the other thing we don't know here is that we don't know, just because they're teammates here doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that they share the same pit box. And now look at that, Davies held up there by Kasabi. They just happen to be, again, it's all random what what team is, what cars are actually teammates. So Davey then is going to lose out then, certainly. And you can see Marcel's jumped him, Junior has jumped him as well. So that's unfortunate for Davey, and through no fault of his own, there's nothing you could do about that. It's just pure luck.
Well, some guys are going on softs. The guys who are mediums, so they'll maybe try to stretch this out from lap 15 to lap 33. Not impossible, but very hard.
That's going to be very difficult. I wonder again. Those guys on the mediums, their hands are tied. You know, either you stay out like Max Fiero has here, or you come into the pits, go for a set of softs, maybe hope for another safety car. McMaverick is going to have to compete again regardless. He's on another set of mediums. They will go to the end, but he does have to fulfill a tyre criteria, and so that's your only hope. If you start on mediums, you know you're banking, you're praying for another safety car later in the race, because that's realistically the only thing that will save you, because it'll be a monster job to get the softs to the end, and if you pit on another set of mediums like a Mel, Mel will be actually. Do you know what? That actually really helps a Mel, given that they started on the softs and obviously dropped out of the top. I think he started in the top 10. Let me just double check that.
Yeah, could possibly see. Well,
yeah, start on softs.
We all know that cars are reshuffling again with this safety car, and the guys who were on top before it can easily happen that they won't be. And yeah, as I said it multiple times, I think someone will start to make a quote on this one. We know that we don't know anything.
The only thing that's changed inside the top 10 is that Davey has lost out from 5th, I believe. Everything else in the top 5 kind of range is roughly the same. The other thing that this does obviously is Laska and Pyra lose their advantage. They were out of DRS range quite comfortably to those guys behind. I don't doubt that they can do it again, but not ideal, of course. It's never ideal, of course, to lose that advantage that you obviously work hard to earn and to gain. Do you see what's happening? I see. So
yeah, the cheeky tire rules.
It's the right thing to do. It's
but also not everyone did it. Joyce hit out.
I wonder if he'll reconsider, having seen everyone else come in. It's tough, because for those guys, you know you're losing track position, but it's the only thing you can do really to salvage it. It's just you just have to play the hand you're dealt. It's unfortunate, but there's coming in again to pit. Just you lose everything essentially, and you can't guarantee another safety car comes out. So it's the best hand that they have to play with the hand they were dealt. So you lose some track position, sadly, but at least you're on the correct strategy, and you never know what will happen later in the race. It's going to be difficult, of course, from back down there, but sadly that's how it goes. But yes, ambitious here from Joey. I wonder, because he would lose significant track position, because 11th is not a bad place to be. Oh, and he can't even come into the pits at the end of the lap to do it, not without losing a significant track position and time, because the safety car is in at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I just want to point that out, that even if Joey reconsiders the thing what Atlas Copo, Camels, and the other guys who went on softs when safety car came out did, he won't possibly have time, because safety car is usually around 2 or 3 laps, depending on heaviness of the accident. And now, yeah, as we still comes in.
It's a good restart from Laska, to be fair. Won't be any under pressure. You got ESW Junior and Marcel side by side heading into turn 1. Is there a bit of contact? Maybe a little bit of contact,
Marcel, was pushed right a little bit. As Davey tries to use the opportunity dive bomb. I think there's contact. Oh, burn.
Oh, he hangs it beautifully around the outside. I don't know if Marcel has wing damage or not. There certainly was contact into turn 1 there with Junior, but
we have Max Fiero.
Oh.
With spaghetti and chips. Well, this has turned into a bit of breakfast.
Marcel takes that position back off of Davies. So that's Marcel back up to the 6th. Max Fiero did not pit, it seems.
Supporting Max Fiero as spaghetti and chips done the same. Oh, contact. But I think it's just like one or just shaking.
They'll be dying to get by as quickly as possible. They're already being left out of DRS range. And look at the gaggle behind Max Fiero here on these 13 lap old mediums. Joey on the softs has to get this overtake done very, very soon. But Max is going to make that very, very difficult. He's using quite a bit of deployment out of that last corner. Just go quickly on board with Marcel. He's going to shape up a move here back on Junior, who doesn't go defensive initially, and Marcel switches back inside, decides to think better of it. But so Joey got that move done, but Maverick and company did not, and they are on medium tires. So they should be able to find a way through, given the tire, the difference on the life.
Yeah.
Ooh,
See what happens.
there's a bit of contact. And Emel is going to try and sneak through here as well. You got Tam in the mix, well, gone very, very deep. So Maverick had to get off the throttle there because of a bit of contact, and just they've been swamped as a result. Maverick loses a few positions there. Max Sierra losing a lot of positions here as well, and Cam should be through, and he goes down the inside then and to take P15. So yeah, maybe not been the right strategy call there for Max, but oh, you can see going wide. Marcel, he's really trying to take his place back off of Junior there, so maybe didn't lose any, maybe didn't damage his wing, but certainly feisty on this safety car restart, and it's going to need to be, because see, Junior's already 1.2 seconds away from Noodles then, with the DRS about to be re-enabled.
Yeah, in case of Junior and Marcel, it seems that those two cannot escape from each other in this race. Marcel coming down the straight, down into turn one, takes the racing line, and it's moved on.
These great chips, and Pariah then changing places as well. So that's Marcel up to 5th. You can see Pyra then and the DRS of Laska then deciding his car off in the background. I think that's Atlas Scopo.
And Max here in the pits with wing change, or he just yeah, that's wing change for him as well.
Battle at the front is fierce, as DRS will be enabled now for the first time after the safety car heading down that main straight. Just under half of the race gone. These guys will be racing to the end unless another safety car comes out. And they haven't been able to drop Kasabi this time the way they did on the soft, so they won't be alone here, these top two squabbling away for this this race win. Not immediately, at least.
Well, this is unusual that someone has, well, at least for me, and it was a while that someone has better feeling, or that their car has a better feeling, or medium set of softs, especially our Portugal, which is like the quick stops are how 1 second quicker than me. As Piro takes the lead, now needs turn one.
Didn't have to use a lot of ERS to do it, so just pure slipstream and DRS.
Okay, yellow flag in sector one again.
I think that's Pariah.
Yep. So all the hard work he did is undone now. Let's replace for Joey.
Yeah, it's not going too well for NSR this race. You see Noodles has just dropped out of that DRS range. It's very tight. Ooh, back end twitching coming out of turn 8 there. So I think you might see the top three begin to kind of pull away now that they have the DRS on each other. Kasabi was close to losing it. Heading down the straight, he was 9/10, but with the two, exchanging places there, just allowing him to creep up just a little bit. And yes, now you can clearly see Noodles is well and truly out of that DRS range now. It's just these top three that should pull away now.
Well, they really should, as yeah, Noodles is 1.7 seconds behind already, as he has his own worries with Marcel being behind him. Marcel, who already managed to pull out quite a big gap to Junior. And Davey on P7, trying to regain the places he lost earlier, as we have yellow flag. Max Sierra is out. Will this be our safety car possibly? Indeed, it is.
Very interesting. 16 laps to go, including the one we're on. A safety car for 2, possibly 3 laps. If you were, I don't know, Spaghetti Chips or Tam, or some of these guys on the periphery here, would you consider a set of softs to go to the end?
To be honest, I would, because considering that I think most of the field, or most field around you, will go on softs. I will consider going on softs. I will risk it because basically I will have nothing to lose, and I have quite a lot of time to gain because people have time penalties, precisely one, in shape of Davy, and yeah, why not? Sometimes to win the race you need, and to get the good result you need to risk, you need to gamble.
Top 4, top 5 aren't having it, and Junior is, so he's always interested to see which of the top runners will decide to jump for it, and now everyone back of him is seemingly going to do it.
I'm surprised for Joey because he has on the softs already. He could easily pull these quite a few laps on those softs already, but I think he'll just go on first set of softs, and he knows that everyone behind him will bet, and he won't lose any position.
He's put on a set of medium tyres, so I'm not sure he has any softs left, but everyone else going on the softs there behind, and it's tough. Like, you know, I think for the top 5 there who had the choice, if you decide to go into the pits, it's one of those things where the people around you decide to stay out, and you know you're losing. You know, because the field is just recently bunched up with the safety car. You are obviously going to lose basically all track position until other people come into the pits. So it's one of those things. If you don't do it, then other people do it, and if you do it, then other people decide not to do it. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic to kind of wrestle with, especially if you have higher track position. Like for those who are, you know, 9th, 10th or whatever, it's a no-brainer. You go onto the softs, you roll the dice, see what happens. It's those in the top positions that have a lot more to lose than the others would have to gain.
Well, it is quite kind of tricky because you're in the phase that you don't know to what area you need to go. Yeah, as you said, top 5 will have quite lots of things to lose. I think they've done the best thing they could do with staying out, because obviously their mediums can easily go to the end. They have that pace advantage, which can really help them to pull out, while others are battling behind them. And for the midfielders, Joy is having quite an interesting strategy this evening, so bit of Ferrari master plan from earlier years, I would say, but yeah, like you expect that the race will come to at some point as softs drop off. But the thing is, though, will there be enough laps in the race that does happen? This transition does happen? Because yeah, of course, as I said, where it's not the problem, but softs will surely start to overheat after some couple of laps, and then mediums have the advantage. But again, that's the issue what I said. Like, you never know if there's enough time to mediums to come into play and to become quick, to become faster than softs. As yeah, that's the reason why I will choose softs over mediums in this kind of stage. But every driver knows his car the best. I'm not a driver, I'm just a commentator here. So yeah, let's see how this will turn out. A safety car will go in this lap with 13 laps to go, including this one.
Yes, just on the edge where you would take a set of mediums at the start of the race. Fuel load being lighter will help the soft runners a little bit at this phase of the race as well. Less fuel in the car. It's borderline. I think it is borderline. They should be able to take it through. It's just, well, what pace will the softs have at the end of the race compared to the medium? So they're gonna have to get their work done here pretty soon. You know, they're gonna have to try and strike while the iron is hot, and ESW Junior then is going to be the first one to have a crack at it. From P8 we'll see where he finishes. We're green flag racing once again, and Noodle's got a decent start there, and already you can see up a position already. You can see Cameron has lost a few places already. Down the inside. Front to rear coming into turn 1. Oh, it's unfortunate. It's just a unfortunate contact model there, but so he's out of the equation. Then you can see the grip that Junior has, and if anything, he wants to try and make as many places as he can before this DRS is enabled. So you just will have that advantage.
Well, I was riding number with Tam, who was fighting with Camels outside of turn 3, and the grip difference is that big that he managed to overtake Camels like he was non-existing round the outside of turn 4. That's crazy.
Yes, it's seemingly a big difference, and I think you'll see it in these first few laps here with Junior. Just with obviously no DRS being enabled, it is just traction and a bit of ERS, and you can see. So might have to spend it. Well, Junior, you can see the grip difference. It's coming out of the last corner there, and Davy's going to have little defense for this. You can see in front as well. Marcel and Noodles getting very close together as well. So these medium guys can't afford to be fighting too much because they've got a lot of soft runners behind. You see Tam. Oh, Davy's lost it. Oh!
Well, he took out someone.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was Junior. So it's just the back end. The back end just slammed into the side. Nothing that.
That's just unfortunate.
Nothing that he could do about that, and that's promoted Tam into P6, and now he is the highest soft runner. But the difference now is he's 2.4 seconds behind, and with DRS being enabled next lap, you see the guys in front of all are within that DRS range. It's going to make it difficult for Tam to make up as many places as maybe Junior might have with how close he was there.
Well, Tam surely had to lift up because Davey lost it, went across the grass. He was just a passenger, then his car came like a wrecking ball into Junior. Did an impression of accidental impression of Valtteri Bottas from Hungary in 2021 in dry conditions. Nothing what both of those drivers will do about it. That's just unfortunate for them. As Dave is out, but in pits, same as Junior, I think he will post. No, he won't retire.
That's unfortunate.
Let's go change the wing. They are set up softs and probably that's fight for first up until the end.
See, Tam is bringing down the gap just a little bit now, 1.6 seconds. You can see Mel side by side with cameras. Oh, a little bit of contact. Was Mel moving up the field? Oh, front to rear contact, high speed, and now he's into the barrier. Oh, and the rear wheel's off, and he's out of the race.
I think maybe another safety car. Could be, or virtual safety car at least.
Nothing at the time for the time being. It looks like it's going to carry on. Just a little surprising, but that's unfortunate. Mel was literally just getting their race back underway, essentially, having obviously the spin lap 1, and yeah, just high speed contact front to rear. I need another view of it, but I think Mel did have the inside line, so that might be a contested one after the race. See Marcel on the back of Noodles. See, Noodles is just behind Kasabi, who did just pick up a time penalty not a lap or two ago. So there is a podium spot up for grabs here if they can stay within 3 seconds. But they're in a very difficult position because the longer they dilly dally as as Maverick and Joey trading places, the longer they dilly dally behind each other. See, Tam is coming closer into play here.
Marcel on the back of Noodles, who lost it at the exit of turn 5 for a whip. Now coming at turn 7 and turn 8. Samson corner. Noodles still sticking it around the outside, down the inside in turn 9. But now it switches into Marcel's favor, making turn 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, he almost took that place back on traction we have turn 8. It was almost very impressive. But that's Marcel then into P4, and that has firmly put Tam in the mix here as well. Now just crawling behind Noodles then with DRS, using that ERS as well. And this will be a simple move in the end, or should be a relatively simple move. Although, see, Noodles is actually fighting back with the ERS that he does have, and of course he has DRS as well. They're closing out on Marcel.
Mari gets past Camerals.
Very little ERS in all of these cars, so it's just a straight fight to the end. At 25 or 33, and the battle at the front is still, quite close as well. It is as it was in the first stint, is Pyro versus Laska, and they've dropped Kasabi this time for good. Just a few tenths, could come down to ERS management. Not quite sure. That's a traction for Tam coming out turn 8.
Closing on Noodles to try to make a move here. What you want. Turn 12 now. Turn 13. 14. And now to come on the starting streak once again. Down to turn 15. Knowles is derating. We have DRS and DRS advantage, I believe. Will that be enough? Won't. Even with the grip, it seems that the Knowles really has a rocket ship on the straights. And Tam didn't even manage to get it with DRS, which is quite powerful around here. Usually.
Yeah, with everyone's ERS roughly around the same here, it just comes down to what cars have DRS in front. And Noodles had DRS on Marcel, and that was the only reason he was able to keep that position. But the longer this goes on, this bodes well for the guys on the mediums as these softs begin to drop off a little bit more. That will surely be a track limits warning for Tam. Certainly wants to keep those to a minimum if wants any hope of a podium here, because that is up for grabs with Kasabi's penalty. Although it's tight though. The gap is 1.5 seconds between Kasabi and Marcel, and yeah, there are 7 tenths for Noodles and another 3 for Tam, and it is quite close to that 3 seconds and plenty of time to go too. So these guys need to get a move on if they want to chase that podium. It's like a bit of a better exit this time for Tam. Noodles will still have the DRS, and they've both essentially used all of their DRS. It's all just slipstream at this stage, and again, it's just not.
Contact!
It's just not a corner you can send it down properly without, being properly alongside. Otherwise, you risk an accident. It's Pariah up into P8.
Yep.
So after his race was going very poorly earlier, up into P8 is Pariah with some penalties in front of him. So that could, things have flipped around here for the sole remaining NSR car here, at least.
Yeah, but speaking about Tam, he'll need to try to do overtake where there's no usually overtakes around here. He'll need to try to do something different. Because we saw that overtaking with DRS on Survey is not working for him because of DRS strain. So he'll need to risk it somewhere.
It's very close to that second range though. He actually might just be out of it now as Noodles. I think he will be. This will be surely his best chance. I don't think he was in the activation point. I think the detection point was there. I think he's just out of it.
No, I think lose DRS, yeah.
Yeah, this will be an easy move then. You can just see the difference. Oh, he's moved across slightly. A little bit of contact. Didn't need to do that. That was always going to be a losing battle once he lost the DRS. And that is Tam up into P5. It's about 2 or so tenths. It's about actually less than that, arguably, to Kasabi for what would be P4 for Tam at the moment, with Marcel moving up a place there. Gap at the front is very tasty. We should maybe focus on this battle a little bit more now, that at least until Tam gets a little bit closer to Marcel. But these two are certainly closer.
On the exit of turn 8, will Lasha try to make a move going into turn 11? Not quite.
The ERS is essentially the same. They're working with the same amount of ERS essentially. So, what's the exit like out of this second to last corner? He should. Oh, that should be easily close enough. Once he opens the DRS and then uses that ERS too, it should be a change for the lead. Will it be the final one? We'll find out. but Laska is going to take the lead here on Pyro, who doesn't choose to fight it. There are still 5 laps to go, including the one we're on. Sorry, is it?
This race is going pretty quickly.
It has been. Sorry, my maths is awful. I apologise. Even with 2 safety cars, this race rather has gone by pretty quickly. You see, Tam has actually just dropped out of that 1 second range of Marcel, so maybe an indication that those softs are beginning to drop off a little bit, and can't quite make the same gains as he did at the start of this session of the race. He's just hopped back within now. Maybe just maybe a bad corner or two. At the moment, Marcel's still looking like he's going to take that last podium place.
Maybe just start to drop off quickly, but as soon as I speak, Sam gets at least, I think, 2 or 3 tenths on traction coming outside of turn 8. As Piro is really close to Lashka. I think we'll see another change in the lead possibly, with soon will be 3 laps to go.
Breaking out the slipstream for a little bit and backing off on the throttle. I think he's wanting to just do it on the last lap essentially. Could have gone by if he wanted to. It's tough to save ERS here at times as well. You'd be better off, spending none of it and then saving it if possible. But obviously, with how long that straight is, you just use an awful lot of that ERS. It's very hard to recover it properly here. But I think it's just a waiting game for Pyro. He wants to try and time it as late as he can. A dangerous strategy at times, because sometimes the moment you wait for, the moment might not present itself at that moment that you've been waiting for. You could get a bad run out of the second to last turn, and all of a sudden, the chance that you put off suddenly is gone.
Well, definitely he's playing tactical around here, and this has turned into a short game of poker. 1F121.
Again, just a little bit further back this time around by a few hundreds. So again, you see they're reaching the same kind of point. They're not using any ERS really, and it's the same every time. It's about, you're using about 10 or so % on the straight when you don't want to, and again they dip below that 10% range.
Trying to make up one Marcel, a bit too far.
That's the exit light coming out of turn number 4. It's okay, and the ERS situation is pretty much the same here as well. And again, just not quite this time for Tam. They are still in range of Kasabi. So despite Kasabi being clear of the DRS, struggling to kind of break away enough to bridge that penalty. Now I wonder if this will be the lap that Laska decides to go for, because the finish line is quite early here, so I wonder if he'll go this lap or wait one more. Again, it's like you're playing games up here. It can be a tricky one to judge when the moment is right. If something like this happens, 6 tenths back, a little bit more ERS this time around. He is going to use a little bit, actually, just to bridge that gap slightly towards Laska, just to keep close. Oh, he's using the ERS.
Trying to make a move round the outside. Laska opting not to fight it. Contact. Piro goes out track. They're still close.
Oh, just enough space left there. Will he go for it again here, or will he save the ERS? Looks like he's going to save it for this time around, but he had a go. And he's going to get one more chance to have a go here as well. A little bit of contact. I didn't think there's anything too, at least from the view I had, anything too unreasonable about that. It's just hard racing very late in the race for the lead of the race. Just left just enough space heading into towards turn 2 and 3, just. We didn't see any penalties, thankfully.
Yeah, and we have 3 people with time penalties we all in these 33 laps, so that's very impressive stuff.
That is impressive. I'm expecting more usually around here. who knows, we might have one or two more before we end here. And again, just all Pyro is just, I'm not sure if there's damage or something, because nowhere near able to get a run here heading out of turns 14 and 15. It just looked like a bit of a wash of understeer, so potentially some damage. But either way, Laska's going to start the final lap of the race here, unchallenged into turn 1. So I don't know if Pyro has any more throws of the dice left at this stage to throw. And you see Tam will go back to the battle here for P4, which is a net P3 with Kasabi's penalty. This is his last chance for you. Oh, and Tam's picked up a penalty as well, and that will end that run. Just pushing too much, and Marcel should be able to see this through so long as he doesn't make a mistake. Take a podium, and it may not be the win for CPI, but a double podium, I think they can, or rather one kind of podium at least. I think, you know, all things considered, not too bad of a scenario. I think it's just a one.
Right, going side by side, going to turn 8.
Heading out of the second to last corner, it will be a double podium for CPI. I got my drivers confused. So for Laska then, he's definitely had the pace today and defended where it mattered. Not sure as to any damage was sustained there, but it is TTG Laska who's going to win in EML at Portimao, ahead of Pyro then in second. Kasabi drove a very good race, but he's going to have no podium to show for it. Marcel will jump him into third. Noodles then will go up into 5th place. Kasabi keeps 4th place then. Tam has to contend himself at 6th place. Maverick will cross the line in 7th place. A good race for him, despite starting well outside the top 10. Cam rules, actually they're both jumped. They're all jumped by Pariah, who just about 3/10 of a second. So excellent result for Pariah, jumping Maverick then by 3/10 on penalties. And there you go. I believe, just looking at the comments there, Laska apparently did have damage coming out after that turn 1 incident. It did look like there was a nice wash of understeer heading out of that second to last corner on the lap 32 there. So yeah, I'm not surprised. It looked marginal. I didn't have the greatest angle of it, sadly, but so we'll see what happens with that in the aftermath. It does nothing, of course, to change the championship, which has already been decided, but plenty of positions still to be fought for at this late stage of the season. Run you down through the top 10 before we wrap up. It is TTG Laska ahead of Pyro then in second. Marcel then completes the podium in third for CPI. Kasabi then, good drive for him, really deserved to have a podium, but the penalty proving costly in the end. He finishes 4th. Noodles then finishes 5th. Tam then from 17th. So excellent drive despite that last lap penalty, which did cost him P5 there. Pariah from P13 into 7th place then. Maverick then from 12th, he finishes 8th. PK Chips then started 9th, finished 9th. A bit of a hairy race in between, but ended up finishing where he started. Joey then finished in 10th place ahead of Cam Rules. Atlas Scopo Junior then dropping out of the could have easily been in contention for this race win had things unfolded differently, but it wasn't to be. And then DNF then for ML, Davey, Max Fierro and Yogi, who brought our first safety car. So there you go. That was the penultimate round of EML League 2. The final race of the season will come at Abu Dhabi, and that will be on the 25th of May, as F1 2021 certainly begins to wind down, and F1 22, I have to get used to that, will not be too far along the corner.
Well, one thing sure, we'll certainly have to wait to use it for a little while. And yeah, really good race we just had. Obviously, Lashka and Piro fighting to the very end. Lashka getting better of Piro. Only, what was it, 8/10 of a second. So really close, really tough, not only for the lead, but across the entire field. So, yeah, quite a action-packed race.
Yes, it was a good one, and you can continue to follow some F1 action around Portimao, as EML Premier will be live in about 10 minutes time, and it'll be on YouTube this evening. So if you want more of that, then you can stay right on League Racing TV. But for myself, and my thanks to Ivan for joining me tonight, that is going to do it for number 9 of EML League 2. The last round, as I said, will take place at Abu Dhabi on the 25th of May. So, thanks for joining us, and until next time.